Okay, more vintage taps, and I hope you've been liking these ones. If there's other ones you want to see, just as always, shoot me out a comment, leave a message, whatnot, or reach out to me via email, whatever you want to do. Uh, with this one is Erlanger, and I've got a couple of things to point out with this. First of all, I do love some of the things about these taps and the way that they did things. So you'll notice that this around here, this is one of the wraparound labels. With the wraparound labels, you'll have kind of like a single piece that has all of the elements printed on it, and then it's got a point in that piece that is either riveted on or has some adhesive or tape or something like that to kind of keep it in place. So you'll notice that's one of those things that is done from time to time. I've sometimes seen that done with the sticker type ones or paper type labels, and then you'll have other ones where kind of like a metal. I think that they probably use a light aluminum or some of that, where it's printed out and then wrapped around. This one, I'm not quite sure what the material is that they did, but it does turn out pretty well. It looks pretty great. And then similarly, you down here have another element that has their logo. I don't know if that's really legible, but it is a pretty cool little logo. You'll see that that's repeated on the other side. And I mentioned with the Budweiser tap the other day that that one had a material that looked like wood, but was actually plastic. And with this, you can look for a couple of those marks. So if you're seeing any wear, you can check and see how the wear looks. Another thing that's just a great way of telling wood from plastic is looking at the grain and seeing if you see any repeats or see if you're seeing a natural grain. So with this one, if you're familiar with grains, you'll notice that the patterns are kind of a traditional grain pattern, and you're not really seeing any reproduction or anything like that. So that's a great sign that it's an actual normal wooden tap handle. And then down here, we also have a really, really interesting element here. Let's see if we can see that. And with this one, it looks like it's most likely paint, but you will have some tap handles occasionally where they've got a wooden element and then a ceramic element or plastic element followed by a wooden element again. When they are doing that, so this one, as I mentioned, it looks a little bit like it's painted. I can't quite tell, but a couple of things that I'd look for is this kind of edge or connection there to see if you've got a super clean break or line. And you'll notice with this one, it isn't super clean, which is why I'd be guessing that that's most likely a painted item. But sometimes you'll have ones where you'll have the top portion of the tap and then the bottom portion of the tap screwing on and holding another piece in place. But one of the big things I wanted to point out about this tap is actually missing a part. So if you're collecting tap handles and you come across this, you definitely want to keep an eye out and just be aware of what you're getting. And with this, you'll notice that there is threading in there, but that's actually for a hanger bolt. With any of these, you'd expect this to have a either an insert that goes in, but more commonly, if you're seeing it like this, then you'd expect it to have a hanger bolt. So that's essentially a knife thread. So knife threading is designed to go into wood, and then followed by a kind of standard threading, which is designed to go into metal. And then you would have the hanger bolt would be protruding out a little bit, and then you'd have the ferrule attached, so that metal portion attached, so that that would actually be connecting. Anytime that you're seeing just raw wood like that, that wouldn't hold up very well with a traditional threading. And so that's the reason why they do the hanger bolts and the ferrules and stuff like that, is so that it'll actually be a good material and strong material to provide a connection there. And then the other thing that I wanted to point out is these little marks that you see there. And if you're seeing those marks, that's actually from a wood lathe. So with a wood lathe, you actually put the item onto the lathe, And then on both ends, you've got these centers or things that actually center the piece of wood for when the motor is spinning it around. And I've got one of those up in my shop. I'll touch on that again, but this is for so the livestock goes on one side, the the uh, dead stock or something like that. I should brush up on the terms. Goes on here. So essentially, you hammer that in, and that's where you're getting those lines from. Is from the lathe. So, as I mentioned, this is missing a part. So if you did see a tap handle where it looks like that, then you'll want to assume that it is missing a piece. And that means that you'd have to either know how you can source those, both the hanger bolt as well as an appropriate ferrule, or you just want to be aware that it's not going to be a complete product. So once again, Erlanger, nice vintage tap, but missing the end there. So this wouldn't be an item that I'd consider to be in saleable condition.